Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is a new series, or the first ever series that I'm going to create on my channel. I would like to call it Underrated Storytelling Moments, where I'm going to basically be talking about some of my favorite stories, both in the past and present. But I'm going to focus on those moments in the story where I feel like I personally loved so much, but it just felt a little bit underrated or overlooked in the zeitgeist, or at least based on my own internet research, that I feel like nobody has been talking about that specific detail that I personally appreciated. Of course, the first ever episode, I'm going to talk about my favorite, all-time favorite TV show, which is Lost. So for Lost fans out there, welcome. As you guys all know, Lost has delivered some of the most insane plot twists in the history of television, right? Bar none. But today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite plot twists that seems to be overlooked, probably because it was on two of the most unpopular characters on the show. And you guessed it, it's Nikki and Paolo. Yes, I am talking about the season 3 episode where we found the shocking twist of how Nikki and Paolo died. Here's the clip.
Hey, what happened?
Paralyzed.
That was the clip from the end of the episode when we found out that Nikki and Paolo were alive that entire episode. They were simply just paralyzed, as Nikki's warning was telling everyone. And we also found out early in the episode that the paralysis was caused by a very powerful spider bite. But nobody knew that's what she meant, so they ended up getting buried alive. And you can see Nikki's eyes opening just as the sand is finally covering her face, so that nobody knew that they were actually about to become conscious again. That was so terrifyingly shocking. So how did the writers just pull off this insane plot twist, right? Well, through a very masterful misdirection, using just a little bit of a clever wordplay. So at the very beginning of the episode, we actually saw Nikki's warning right away. But this time, her speech was very muffled, so that we can't really hear what she was saying.
You okay? What happened?
You can see that shot was slightly different, right, from the shot at the end of the episode, where it was much more of a close-up to her face, and the speech was much clearer in terms of what she was saying, paralyzed. So that was the setup. And then the misdirection was actually delivered by none other than one of our favorite and trusted characters on the show, Hurley.
Said something like plywood and sorry, no.
Actually, I think she said power lines.
Who the hell knows what she said? She was 5 seconds from dying. She's probably seeing the light at the end of the tunnel.
Paolo lies. That's what she said. Paolo lies, not power lines. Paolo lies.
The genius of this very clever wordplay is that not only Paolo lies sounds very similar to paralyzed, but also Paolo lies makes total sense for this entire episode in terms of the theme, because throughout the entire episode, we are learning a lot about Nikki and Paolo's backstory and history with each other, and Paolo did lie, like a lot. So naturally, we audience members were led to believe that the entire episode is about how Paolo's lies and secrets finally caught up to both of them, and then they ended up getting killed by someone, right? So the whole entire episode turns into a very sort of a typical murder mystery trope, where the audience were paying attention to all the clues to help us find out who might be the murderer behind Nikki and Paolo's deaths. And as a result, even though the episode actually also lays out all the clues that they are alive this whole time, for example, early on in the episode, there was literally a full-on conversation between Nikki and another character about the existence of this powerful spider called the Medusa spider on the island. There was also later on in the episode where the dog on the island, Vincent, was trying to like pull the blanket off of Nikki and Paolo's supposedly dead bodies, because the dog knows these two are not dead yet. However, all of these clues were completely ignored by the audience, largely because we were so fixated on finding out who the murderers are. So why do we miss all of these clues when they're staring us directly in the face? Well, there's actually a psychological phenomenon that explains that. It's called inattentional blindness, which is the failure to sort of notice something that's clearly visible to you because our attention is focused on something else. So in this case, all our attention is focusing on finding clues related to the potential murder suspect of Nikki and Paolo, so that any other clues about what's actually happening, i.e. being poisoned by a spider, were completely just ignored. Anyways, I just enjoyed how the writers completely fooled us into thinking that Nikki and Paolo is dead and this is a murder mystery episode, when we later find out that they were alive the whole time, and we just made a huge mistake. It was so genius, so masterfully done in terms of the misdirection. I really enjoyed the entire ride of that episode, and as a matter of fact, even though me, just like every one of the Lost fans, really hated the introduction of Nikki and Paolo as characters at the beginning of season 3, I almost feel like that episode alone of their demise just justified the existence of Nikki and Paolo on the show to me, because it was just such a fun ride. So yeah, R.I.P. Nikki and Paolo, you guys deserve better. Hopefully this video is your redemption story. And I hope you enjoy the content too, because this is the end of episode 1. If you like the content, please leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about Lost, about Nikki and Paolo, or what other stories you would like me to talk about. And please like and subscribe for more Easter eggs and story breakdowns for great storytelling moments like this one.
Hello! Hello.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hello?
Hello. Hello, sweetheart.
Hey. How you doing?
Hi, words kinda L.
Hi, it's me.
Hello, hello, hello!
How do you do, fellow kids?
Hold your eyes, yo.
Hold her hand!
Can you please spell Gabbana? Hello?
Hello, it's me.